Hello and welcome to episode 291 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now, on today's episode, you probably know who the guest is because it's a two-part special to celebrate the film Kindling. It's one of my films of the year and is available now to stream everywhere. And on my last episode, I was joined by Tara Fitzgerald, one of the actresses in the film. But today, I'm joined by the director, Conor O'Hara. It's a great chat and a director that I think is going to go on to massive things. He's an amazing director, amazing writer and amazing producer, and you need to check out his work. I love his interview today. He's so humble, he's so grounded, but seriously, watch this space. He's one to watch. What I normally do at this part of the podcast is touch base and talk about my last episode. But as this is a two-part special, you know it was Tara Fitzgerald, and I really hope that you've all checked it out because this is meant to be a two-part special. So what I want to do now is to get straight to the interview, but just before I do, I'll give a quick shout out to the podcast sponsor, Richer Sounds. If you're in the market for a TV, a Sonos system, home surround sound system or headphones, go on richersounds.com because they are the best out there and they'll really honestly beat any price out there. The reason I have these guys sponsor me is because I believe in all their stuff, and without them, I couldn't keep this podcast going, so thank you so much. Right, Kindling movie is what I want to talk about, and who's better than the director himself? Here's me and Conor O'Hara talking all things film. So Conor, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be on.
Conor, what I like to do with all my guests is take it right back to the very start. So talk to me about when you were growing up. What were those first films that you remember watching that made you fall in love with cinema?
For anyone who watches Kindling, you can probably tell it's Lord of the Rings, man. It's Lord of the Rings. You know, I sort of had quite a powerful relationship with the film where when I was 9, I had an illness which stopped me walking for about 2 or 3 months. And essentially I just, couldn't move off the sofa and I just binged. It was only the Fellowship and Two Towers that were out at the time, and it was like daily occurrences, every single day. And and then I watched the behind the scenes, and it was actually from watching the behind the scenes and seeing the camaraderie of like being on a set that I didn't think, I want to be a director as such. I just thought I want to be a part of that. And as soon as I got sort of better again, the first thing was to buy. My parents actually bought me a video camera almost as like a tool to get me to go out and do stuff, and that was it. Once I started collecting Warhammer, filming the Warhammer figurines, getting my mates involved, and then got in a band doing music videos. So I just loved it, man, from young age. Yeah.
That's amazing. And to hear that your family was supportive is amazing, because I say it on nearly all my episodes, but it's really important, isn't it, to have a family that support a decision when you want to be either a musician or a filmmaker, because it's kind of a fear, I think, for some parents where they'll be like, can you get a real job, a proper job, and then maybe have this as a kind of a hobby?
Well, here's the thing, man. My dad struggled with it a lot. My dad got that as a kid as a hobby, but my dad's a working class guy who had to work really hard to pull himself up from a situation, and just wanted stability for me. So when I think me saying I was wanting to be in the film industry, I know he really struggled with that because he didn't see that as stable. So, but I would also say that me and my dad have a really close relationship. And I think him having that fear is definitely one of my biggest spurs to sort of, Lowkey and the company we've created and Kindling has all been off our own backs and our own energy trying to make it happen. And I think one of the things that's always been there is that thing of like, can't let him down, got to make sure that I can prove there's a sustainable future for me here.
So what was your kind of vision after, obviously you were watching Lord of the Rings, filming with little figures and making, I suppose, like mini little movies yourself with your friends and stuff. At what point did it feel like it could then turn into something serious where you could actually hopefully start a career in the industry?
I couldn't tell you exactly like a moment, but we started Lowkey as just a vice to be creative. We were like 18, me and Jamie, who I still run the company with, and Alex Lincoln, who's an actor from he's now in Emmerdale and In From the Side. And we didn't think it was possible. We just started it for fun. We didn't grow up around anyone who was in the film industry, didn't have the money to start anything off properly. But what happened is the more we created stuff and just put stuff out there, the more a little newspaper would come to us and be like, can we do an interview with you? And eventually the thing that really revolutionized everything was, I got a call one day from a mum of a 12-year-old boy, and she said, "Oh, can you help my 12-year-old son make a film?" And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. Like, I wish someone had helped me when I was 12. And anyway, long story short, turned out his dad was the set decorator on Star Wars, and he offered me a job. So
I
I
saw
sort of
that.
had
Was
this
it
like,
on
yeah,
was it I saw it the other, was it The Last Jedi you got to work on?
yeah. So literally, and that I did that in the summer. I completed uni. And he said, "When do you finish uni?" I said 2 weeks, and he said, "Right, start in 2 weeks then." And I went on, did 13 months on it. So it's one of those, like, again, crazy experiences of and then suddenly I was on this like massive film that I again has dreamed of since I was a kid, and it was, yeah, really wonderful.
Sometimes you think that like everything's meant to be, like the fact that it turned out that that you were in the right place at the right time, but then to get to work on a production as big as that, that doesn't normally happen to most people, does it?
No, especially not people like, I think, man, I'm a massive fatalist, good and bad. Like, the film's about a lot of the harder stuff that's happened in my life and how you choose to see it, right? Like, Kindling's about the fact that I've lost, sadly, three people close to me in my 20s, and I've, I think my friendship group has been very powerful in choosing to see it as a thing that we can take as a positive and learn from. And I guess it kind of goes back to everything, like, good or bad, everything's sort of happens for a reason, doesn't it?
When I was interviewing Tara the other day, I said to her that after I got to see the advanced screening of Kindling, I said that it was probably the most uplifting movie I've ever seen about death. Um, Genuinely, I absolutely loved it. And one thing that stood out for me is the cinematography. I think genuinely it should win awards. It looks stunning, and I think you could pause the film at any point and print out the screen, and it would make a poster. It looked sort of Roger Deakins style of just beauty, and I think I hope it gets the recognition it deserves.
Well, the cinematographer David needs a massive shout for that, because not only did he absolutely smash it, but he boarded the film about 5 weeks before we shot because the previous cinematographer dropped out.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so
Give him an
David,
Oscar
not
now.
right. So yeah, David Wright, and it was his first feature as well. And I've worked with him in music videos and commercials. Like, he's really prolific and got a great name there, but yeah, hasn't done a feature yet. Or hadn't done a feature yet. And yeah, he came on, and this guy's got like the Midas touch. He could hold an iPhone up to a piece of coal and it would look great.
Unbelievable.
So I got lucky there. That's fully his talent, not mine.
So doing this, obviously, it's a hell of a lot to take on, and I'm sure it's quite daunting. But at the same time, because it was kind of your big feature, and you want to kind of make it the best you can. Was there anything that you kind of learn on set or during it that was just a real eye opener that next time you'll change? And that doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing that you've corrected. It might be something that you'd continue to do. But was there something that really blew your mind that you probably hadn't anticipated?
Huge, man. I think one thing I enjoyed from the process I've always wanted to try and make a film with like a lot of love and passion behind the scene, and actually, not to bad talk anything, but I've struggled on the big features because I felt there was a lot of passionless work, frankly. So I felt really rewarded by the fact that I felt like that's what we achieved on Kindling, is a lot of love behind the scenes. So I really enjoyed that. Challenge, I think, our company works a lot in music videos, so we were kind of used to the challenges of time and the challenges of resources being tight. I think the biggest challenge is managing emotions over 25 days. The actors, they brought so much to it, but we all lived together behind the scenes. We all lived in the same uni accommodation, and it's like, you need space. This industry can be all consuming, and for us to finish work, go back into the same halls together and live together felt so nice on paper, but actually, we're humans and we need time on our own. We need to
Yeah.
stop. And I think actually, to this industry, I think, is all about boundaries. You need to set your own boundaries. And I think if I could do it again, I would help the actors set their boundaries better by allowing them the space in the evening so we can really come together in the shoot days to be the best versions of ourselves. So I
Yeah.
hope that's an all right answer.
No, it's a great answer, and I think all the cast for me, everyone completely shone. I was amazed by all the performances. There was no weak link. Sometimes you watch a film and you think, oh, they're good, they've got potential, but in this, everyone looked like they gave it absolutely everything. Their whole heart and soul was in their performances.
I think that we're sort of so lucky. I was so lucky to work with producers, particularly Jamie Gamache, who's like my right hand and the key lead producer on this, because they allowed me to cast who I wanted, not who was financially, what's the word, financialable. Which so many indie films that don't get the backing the BFI BBC need. so it meant that we saw like 1,000 young actors. We really managed to like find the best friendship group rather than, the best actors for these parts, rather than having to make sure people fit into holes. And that was such a great experience to actually organically find these friends. And even in our research pit, our rehearsal period, we went away for 3 nights and we stayed together, and we gave the boys like a video camera and sent them off to make their own film while we were away. And it just felt like we actually formed that unit. And then it
Yeah.
meant that the improvised scenes on screen, they're just joking around. That's, again, not me at all. That's me giving them a script and being like, that's a guideline. And they just bounced off each other and had this real kinetic energy. And it was, yeah, lovely to see, man. Really. And that's down to the producers giving me the freedom.
So I suppose it's like a little mini family, wasn't it? I suppose. I know you said you had boundaries and needed to make sure that when you finished at the end of the day, you weren't all kind of living and breathing too much of the same space all the time. But then I suppose you created something quite special, that you have got that unit where they're not going off to their trailers or going and traveling to different hotels. It must be a kind of a, it had a lot of pluses as well as you'd learn from it moving forward.
Man, yeah, and it goes back to me watching Lord of the Rings when I was 9, and you see like a local carpenter holding a boom pole because he just needed to help out that day, and that was what it was like. We didn't have carpenters holding boom poles, but we had everyone on that shoot was taking pay cuts, was working hard, was really like bringing their A game to this indie film, and it felt so special, man, to be around people who wanted to create that family. And all we because of COVID, we had to live away for 5 weeks. No one could see their family for this small film, taking pay cuts. Like, but I really felt because of that, everyone really brought this like, cool, if we're doing this, we're doing it. And for me to see on our lunch breaks the lead actor playing football with the runner, and then the DP starts slide tackling them, and it's like you got this like really nice like kinetic thing of like, this is what it should be about, man. Like, we're having an hour lunch break just hanging out as mates. Like, you kind of forget sometimes that we're all just like 9-year-old kids who grew up to want to make films, right?
But do not break
And
his leg, otherwise we're going to be
yeah,
in a lot of trouble.
right. Yeah, fully. Unless it was plods, that would have
Yeah.
maybe worked.
So how does it feel now it's actually all done and ready to go out there? Does it feel like it's real? Does it feel like, oh my God, all that work waiting for it to be greenlit, trying to get funding, trying to get this done? Does it actually feel like, wow, now I can take a step back, or are you just hungry, ready to get on, on your next project?
No, I'm okay with it, man. Like, I think it's been such a consuming thing of my, I'm very lucky to have made it in my 20s, but it's been my 20s of like making this film, and I'm ready for it to be, even like the way the film ends with that final quote. It's not my film anymore. It's like everyone else's, and I quite want it to be everyone else's now. So I'm definitely ready for the next stage, and who knows if anyone will let me make a film again, but I'm ready to try and get the next one off the ground at least.
And you mentioned your own company. I can see it in the background, a lovely logo of Lowkey. How does it kind of work with you? Do you run everything within in-house and try and do it to reduce costs so it's, under your own wing, or are you trying to get still a lot of investors, or how does it work when you've got your own company as well invested in it?
Yeah, man, we're totally independent. So we just, again, started as 18-year-olds, and eventually the reason I left the art department was to do Lowkey full time. And we've sort of just set ourselves up quite like in a nice way of like a bulletproof set of like ethics and values, and we run the company by that. Do a lot of music videos, so we've done like Dave Stormzy, a lot of commercials, and that kind of in such a nice way allows us to like create this ecosystem of like the next wave of talent. Like, we're working with the coolest new directors, the most exciting DPs like David, and it's almost like it's like the whole thing like propagates the next thing, and it's kind of exciting to see the flow between the departments. And I guess my place within it is, I'm so lucky to work with all those I never direct anything commercially, but I'm so lucky as then a person who runs a company to work with all those directors, learn from them, and then bring that to my own projects. So I just sort of see it as all part of the system, I
I was
guess.
going to say every day must feel like a unofficial film school, because you're learning from so many creative people around you all day, every day. It must feel, I suppose, like it's never work.
It's never work, and I think maybe that never film school. Jay and I both, I said, never went to film school, just started making things, and I guess it's that nice thing where the naivety sometimes pays off, where you like believe as 21-year-olds you can make a feature film, and then eventually 8 years later you do, which is a real nice thing. But sometimes it's also always like you're always hitting a wall and working out how you can get around it, and I guess that's filmmaking 101 sort of.
It's incredible, but when you think how, and I say this with full respect, how young you are, and you've already got a feature under your belt, you've got music videos, you've got a company. I suppose, you look at some directors who even start in their 40s, 50s, even people that are acting, like Ben Affleck started late in his career and then, started making some absolute masterpieces. But you still feel like you've got your whole career ahead of you, even though you're so invested already in 10 years into your like kind of journey.
I I love it, man. I love it so much. And I guess even in what you're saying, like I'm I guess I'm maybe young, but I'm 10 years in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And Ben Affleck, when he did that, was maybe 10 years in as well. It doesn't sort of matter what time you start, does it? It's just like
never.
the time you put in. And I guess I am lucky, as you said, I had supportive parents, like not financially supportive, creatively supportive, and they did allow me, um, you know, the ability to do this from like their time perspective. But God, like, just love it, man. And I work with my best mate as well. It's really, exciting. And we're just, we always just say to each other, like, we're just two idiots who somehow like able to like make stuff.
Pinching
And
yourself every day, thinking, how did this actually all come together? We wanted this so badly, but it's actually real.
man, and remembering that, like with stuff with Kindling, like there's always new things that, oh, someone else has got that, someone else has got better. And I think we started chasing that for a while and kind of had to like slap ourselves a bit and just be like, you just got to like appreciate everything, man. Like even just doing this podcast here, it's like, this is so cool, man. Like I didn't think I'd get to do this stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's all about appreciating the journey. Yeah.
It must be hard as well because you're so invested in it not to be able to take a step back. So when you're watching it, you're always critical. You're thinking how this edit should have gone, or maybe I should have done this different.
Yeah.
But as an outsider, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the podcast, I'm very honest, it's an amazing movie and it's shot so beautifully. And I mean this with full respect, it probably shouldn't be as good as it should, considering it's so the budget, everything behind it, it just works. And people will discover this film, I think, like something like Boyhood, one of these films that is so well made, that's been so well grafted that you can see how much heart has gone into it. And sometimes when you watch a film, you can see someone kind of just, I suppose, putting in a performance that's, you can see they're just doing it for the paycheck or like this will do, and you can see they're not quite giving everything. But on this film, it was like, it felt to me like everyone could be giving their final performance because it's that good. It shouldn't be as good as it should. It's incredible.
Well, dude, I actually so appreciate you hearing that, man, and you saying it. And I guess if I was to give credit to like trying to give credit to anyone, it's like I think that comes from the crew. I think the crew, like they lift so much on their shoulders and they allow the actors the freedom. And we had a set where you'd get the grip coming in to give creative ideas about how a shot can be achieved to bring in more emotion. Like that doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think from that it was almost this like real kinetic energy where then you get the sound engineer coming and being like, what about if we did this? This could elevate it. And you kind of had this feeling where everyone was just working in like synchronicity, and that allowed the actors more freedom and just sort of created a safe space. So I guess I do feel proud of what we did in the budget and the way it's achieved. I feel, I guess, exponentially proud of how it was done.
I think the
From the
fact that there
set.
isn't limits there as well, and you're letting people be creative. I think maybe I've seen on some movie sets where people know their boundaries and are too afraid to kind of, "Oh, I can't suggest anything to the director. I'm only, an audio editor or something." But the fact you're letting everyone contribute will make it feel more like everyone's involved and it's a collective unit.
Man, and again, I'm going to take it back to Lord of the Rings for a final time. But it was that's what I saw on those sets, is that like I just remember watching it and thinking the costume designer is the best person at that job. So how
Yeah.
dare a director not listen to them? Like and if I was, I think the film industry's got this weird thing of people seeing it like a hierarchy, and I think you just got to change it to see it like a sink plug hole. And I think if you do that and just see the director as like the plug hole of a sink, and everything's just got to go through that cleanly, you can kind of everything can kind of be piled on. Like you can have all these voices, but I'm just the one that has to make sure that it comes out in synchronicity, I guess.
And
Yeah,
normally I end this podcast by asking for advice for future filmmakers. If anyone's listening today and kind of tuning in and wants to go down the way that you've gone, or wants to get into film school or make films at home, and maybe that's the best advice you give. Don't have this hierarchy, don't have this people where you think you should be looked down upon. Have everybody being able to contribute and be creative has worked wonders for you.
man, and just do it is the biggest advice. I know that's patented by Nike or anything, but like, man, that's what we did. You just create stuff, nothing's stopping you. And you put stuff out there in the world, you hope people like it, keep grafting, you care enough, people will come, I think. I
Plus,
hope.
most people
Yeah.
have got an iPhone now that has a 4K camera on
Oh
it.
my God.
Editing software you can download free most of the time, and it's frightening how easy you could do something so simple. Like you said, just filming some Warhammer or Dungeons and Dragons figures and stuff. You could create something, even if it's just a bit of stop animation or something that looks brilliant, that shouldn't look
To-
that good.
Totally, man. And just like listen to yourself as well. Like everyone's got a story, haven't they? And think about what's key to you. Like go a bit deeper than you normally would and just put that out there. I think people, from what my experience is with Kindling so far, is I think people appreciate when you just put yourself out there a bit rawly on screen. And yeah, man, it's just that just do it mentality. Totally.
My final question for you today, and I do this on every episode, and we've done nearly 270 episodes now, but I ask every guest who's been on to choose the outro piece of music that's played. So I put you on the spot, but basically you can have any song in the whole world, but I like to know a reason why you chose it. And I know it's kind of putting you under pressure, but everyone's done it that's been on, every actor, every artist, every cinematographer. And is there a song that when I ask the question that means a lot to you, that once this is all edited, it plays out at the end of the podcast and it's something that, personally is a great song for a reason?
Let's stay with Lord of the Rings and go Into the West by Annie Lennox.
Incredible.
I've always thought, if I could be, if I could plan my own funeral, I'd be not walk down the aisle. That's not what they call it.
No,
That'd be
be brought down, carried down slowly.
that'd be my song. And I think maybe it's just a powerful song, man. Into the West. Like I think it sort of fits with the theme of Kindling, stays with Lord of the Rings. I just think that song's got beauty beyond words. So yeah, Into the West would be my pick.
I love that this has become Lord of the Rings cast.
It really, man. I think maybe all I'm doing this film for is so Peter Jackson once sends me a text or something.
He's an absolute genius, that man, isn't
Right. Yeah,
he?
man.
Absolute genius.
Dude, it's as much about his ethics and his like ability to create a safe space that I've seen that inspires me more than anything. But yeah, Into the West, I'd say.
Amazing. Him and Del Toro, when I see the way they are on behind, because not everyone releases much behind the scenes footage. You never really get to see much about Christopher Nolan or Spielberg. They're very kind of close sets. But Del Toro, for me, is always out there showing what he does on set. And I think Peter Jackson, you look at the extras, you get hours and hours of it. And it's probably the best lesson you can ever learn of watching him work.
Man, and I think also so many people grow up in this film industry with this almost like, and I'm not disrespecting anyone, but Kubrickian like mentality,
Yeah.
like work till you drop, keep going. You're not good enough unless you put every cent of your being into this thing. And it's like, then you've got people like Peter Jackson who are like, look, a film's not finished, it's just abandoned. You've got to create this with your partner and your loved ones, and nothing's more important than getting your kids and family on set. And it's like, we've kind of got to remember that this is an industry, and in order for it to be healthy, we've got to have like lives. And yeah, Del Toro, Peter Jackson, they just got this really safe space where actually it's like they're just kids who got lucky to make films.
Yeah, and
And
you never read in
yeah,
like stories from Elijah Wood saying stuff like, I almost killed myself on set, where you hear all these horror stories about working on The Shining and stuff, where it's like, I went insane and didn't sleep and felt
totally,
sick and
yeah,
was abused on set. And I'm like, I'd rather hear no stories if they're, comfortable and having a good time. And
right.
they all kind of, you get photos now and then of the crew, don't you, at Comic Cons and stuff from Lord of the Rings, and they're all still best mates and like a family.
This should be fun, man. As I said, we're 9-year-old kids who wanted to make films and have just grown up. Like it needs to stay like that. And Kindling's not a totally light film. Like it's a hard film, and the only way of doing that is, in my opinion, by having the safe space. Not pushing people to breaking point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to have you on today. I can see our time's up, but I wanted to thank you for coming on, and I wish you all the luck with the release. And I'm hoping that more people will listen to this and then go and check out the film, because at the moment, as we're sitting here, it's one of my films of the year. I think more people need to tune into independent films. That's why films like Submarine did so well, and even Brian and Charles recently. It's great to see these independent films that shouldn't be doing well getting the notice they deserve. And I hope that we're talking about Kindling at the end of the year in a lot of top fives that I get to see online.
Oh, well, man. There's still a lot of the year to go, so I really hope it stays in there. But yeah, thank you so much, man, for having me on. And as I said, I just hope the film reaches the people that need it.
Well, that's my job to try and help do that for you as well. So good luck with everything. I hope the rest of the press goes well, and I'm sure very soon down the line our paths will cross again.
Man, can't wait. Can't wait to chat again soon.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and the director, Connor O'Hara. As I said at the start of today's interview, Kindling is one of my films of the year. It's absolutely beautiful, but I never go into great detail or ever give any spoilers, so go and check it out and then let me know what you think. I think Connor is a great guy. I loved interviewing him. He's got his own company. He's got such a great vision ahead of him, and I really am excited to see where his career goes. Kindling is available now, and if you haven't watched it, please, I urge you all to go and do it. I just want to say now a massive thank you to Connor for coming on the podcast. It's been so much fun to speak to both you and Tara about this film release, and I really appreciate your time. Also, you guys, if you're listening at home and want to support the podcast, you can share it as always on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. But what I really need is more people to sign up on Patreon. That's how I keep this podcast going on stuff like Amazon Music, Spotify, Podomatic, Apple Podcasts. It all costs a lot of money. And also me doing all these summer festivals costs a lot of money. But I want to basically get some money to come in from Patreon that then allows me to go out there and continue these episodes and these specials all for you guys at home. So if you can sign up, there's a link on markandme.com, and in return you don't just get the episodes as normal, you get badges, stickers, a welcome pack, a monthly newsletter. I'm also going to start doing some playlists to say thanks to people. I think that's a really nice idea. But not only that, you'll get an exclusive episode each and every month called The Lost Tapes, and the next one's going to be out in only a week's time, so it's the best time to sign up. Right, I'm going to go now. Hopefully you've listened to these 2-part specials. I'll be back as always with a brand new episode before you know it. So until then, look after yourself, go and watch Kindling, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
Lay down your sweet and weary head. Night is falling. You've come to journey's end. Sleep now. Dream of the ones who came before. They are calling from across a distant shore. Why do you weep? What are these tears upon your face? Soon you will see all of your fears will pass away, safe in my arms. You're only sleeping. What can you see? On the horizon, why do the white gulls call? Across the sea, a pale moon rises. The ships have come to carry you home. Dawn will turn to silver glass, a light on the water, all souls pass, hope fades into the world of night, through shadows falling out of memory and time. Don't say we have come now to the end. White shores are calling. You and I will meet again, and you'll be here in my arms, just sleeping. What what can